for our main event. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Does anybody have a link to the FanFest schedule? Don't actually link it yet. I need to give you permission, but I remember yesterday I tried to look for like the actual schedule and it wasn't as straightforward as I thought it would be. And now I need to find it again. All right, let me give you a permit. Shall this? Cool. Post it, please. Thank you. Okay, so 07. Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and today I want to talk to you about what is coming up this weekend, Fanfest. I want to, in this video, discuss everything from what Fanfest is to what we should expect to what I predict might be coming. So we're going to kind of do it in that sort of order, right? From more factual to more speculative. So to begin with, what is Fanfest? A lot of people may not know very much about Fanfest because we haven't had a real honest-to-God Fanfest since 2018. Even in 2019, we had a kind of Fanfest, but it was a totally different thing. It was split out across the world into 7 different things. So the last major, proper Icelandic Fanfest was 4 years ago, which means the vast majority of you have never actually seen one. So I thought that would be a good place to start. So Fanfest is a gaming convention for CCP. There are multiple kinds of gaming conventions. If you've never been to one of those, a gaming convention is, of course, a place where a lot of people gather to connect, to network, to show off, etc. And there's really kind of 3 different kinds of gaming conventions. There's industry gaming conventions, which are usually fairly closed off or at least not really interesting to the general audience. This is places like GDC, E3, literally developer conferences, not as opposed to like more game conferences. Then there are the independent conferences, things like PAX, DragonCon, Comic-Con, that are independent of any given IP, but rather provide a venue for all kinds of different IPs to come and show off and sell their merch and all that kind of stuff. And they range from, everything from Comic-Con, which is more of a comic convention that has some gaming in it, to PAX, which is more of a gaming convention that has some of the other stuff too, board games and video games. 07, hey, thank you for that. Hey, brother. 8 months. Thank you so much, Steve Haven. Check him out. Let's give him a... Hold on. So, make sure to follow Steve's Haven's stream. He's a good dude. Anywho, and thank you again. The Fanfest is actually the 3rd kind of convention, which is when a gaming company, usually a gaming company, is big enough that they can host their own gathering, right? Most of the time, most companies, even big companies, don't have their own convention, right? E3 doesn't, or not E3, EA doesn't necessarily have like a full-on convention in the same way. They normally they show off their big stuff at E3 or at, Comic-Con or whatever it is, right? Whereas there's a few companies, mostly related to MMOs, that are extensive enough that they can literally have a convention that's just about their products. BlizzCon, of course, is the most famous of these. But CCP has their own. They have Fanfest. So, in theory, every year, worldwide plague notwithstanding, they have a gathering at Iceland in order for us to celebrate what EVE Online is, but more importantly, let's be honest, Fanfest is a press gathering. It is still about communication and networking. So they are there to sell you something. And more importantly, not just you, but the public, right? When if you want to get the gaming community's attention, you announce it at an event like this, right? The press is going to be there. And depending on who they've tipped off or who they've gotten involved, it could be a lot of different press, you know. It could even be people that we don't actually even know are going to be going there because we don't know what kind of things that they're going to announce. But in general, these kinds of events happen. They're very expensive, and they're not doing it because the tickets make them so much money that it's worthwhile to them. This is designed to get everyone's attention, both in the game and in the gaming media, so that way they can discuss things. And the two things that they want to show off is, one, what they have accomplished, and two, what they're going to do. Okay? Those are the two themes of these kinds of gatherings. The secondary value of it is, again, that networking. So, you know, allowing, showing off places, people in the community, allowing there to be talkback within the community is a great time to give and receive feedback. You know, there's Q&As and whatnot. But either way, so let's talk about what we should expect from Fanfest. Fanfest is going to be broadcasted on CCP TV, and I'm not sure how many other people are going to be covering it. Am I playing for... I am in the NA. So likely the biggest events, like the say the tranquil... Hold on, let me take a step back. What we're seeing here is that there are 5 different venues in which things can happen, okay? There's a main stage, which they call Tranquility. There's a secondary stage, or which is Singularity. Then there are 2 roundtable rooms, which we'll talk about what the difference between roundtables and presentations after. And then there's Thunderdome, which it looks like Thunderdome is just kind of like they usually have an open area where the tournament is happening. So that's going to be all the coverage of that area. So did you? All right. So right. So first we have the opening ceremony. There's both the opening ceremony and the keynote. The opening ceremony is more administrative, okay? This is where they talk about what, like, this is where they like tell the audience what's going on. They celebrate the audience being there. They talk about like how many people are there. They talk about the actual convention itself, right? You know, any administration, any just explanation of where the different panels are, all that kind of stuff kind of happens during the opening ceremony. They also, at that point, will outline any of the rules for like raffles or other giveaways or anything like that that's happening at that time. And so the opening ceremony, and this is usually conducted by like the community management team, more or less. So that's the opening ceremony, which is the first hour of presentations, which, by the way, is like 3:30 in the morning for me. So we'll talk about my plans after. Then comes the EVE Online keynote. This is the big one, okay? The keynote is the pitch. The keynote is where we learn everything that they are wanting to show off in big, spectacular fashion, all right? We may get other dips and dabs of details in other places, and they may still reserve like some reveals for later on, but the keynote is where they either make it or break it, okay? And ultimately, the keynote serves 2 functions, which goes back to what I said is the whole point of the entire thing. One, it it is designed to be a victory lap for the previous year. They will go over, and it may even be longer than a year because it's been so long since we've had a FanFest. But in general, they will go over what they have done in context and probably as celebratory as they can be. So in other words, likely they will talk about things like scarcity, but when they do, they'll talk about things, they'll highlight what they've gotten done, how much work they've gotten done, the different features that they have released, the work on the market, and the foundations. They're going to use the word foundations a lot, I'm guessing, because that's what they have to, that's what they've been working on, right? And that's honestly one of my predictions for this whole thing, is that the message is going to be like, we've laid the foundation, now we get to build the castle, more or less, right? So then we get to start with the reveals, right? We're probably going to get, we're almost certainly going to get some kind of trailer. If there's something exciting going to happen, it could happen then. Like, you know, we've had Zoria break in, we've had Burger come out and give us our briefing as a DED Concord agent. And with everything going on in the event today, that's going on with Capsuleer Day during the course of this FanFest, there is a reasonable chance that we will see, or at least hear from, the smugglers during the FanFest, which will probably happen during the keynote, if at all, right? No, I haven't talked about that yet. So then we have main panels, So yeah, in order for them to wrap up the keynote, they are going to go over any sort of big announcements that they have. They're going to go over they probably will touch on like ideas for the future, but most importantly, what they're going to do is establish the theme going forward, right? Whatever that is. We haven't had quadrants because they said that they wanted to move back to expansions, which is why I think that we're going to get an expansion shortly thereafter. It could even be on the 17th, right? Because that would correspond with the price change, and that just makes sense. And that's why they're acting like it would make sense once we know what's going to happen, but they can't tell us about it because they can't tell us that there's an expansion coming out until they're ready to it, until they're on at the keynote. And so there's a content-sized hole sitting on top of the 17th, if that makes sense. Sorry, that was into prediction level. But my point is that they have to answer those questions. They have to more or less answer why scarcity happened and why it was good that it happened, and what are we going to get out of it? Inspire us. And the thing about the keynote is that they have set aside an hour and a half for the keynote, which is an incredibly long amount of time. That's a lot of things to fill. You know, you can only play the trailer so many times. Likely what will happen is you will have one major presenter that will, like CCP Burger, for example, or maybe a community manager, that will set the base tone and will tell the normal stuff. And then one by one will introduce a couple of other people like CCP Hilmar or, you know, the other such like top dogs to come and kind of give their a piece of it as and set up like, well, if you want to know more, come to this panel, more or less, right? This is where we get all of the tip-offs and all of the pitches, more or less, right? So, oh yeah, they've been hiring very aggressively for like 3 years. So after an hour and a half of the keynote, you have a 30-minute break. Now, if they wanted to announce something that was secret, I have actually, like, when I went to BlizzCon, this actually did happen, where I can't remember. It was like Cataclysm, or I can't remember what it was. Oh, I think it was the announcement of Diablo 3 or something like that. I whatever. Either way, they had a big announcement, but they had presentations to do for it, but they couldn't tell us about it. So what they did was they gave us schedules with the holes listed as breaks. And then once the announcement happened, they had copies that had it printed correctly. And then they had like stickers that you could put on there to like put the correct thing in that slot. So it is kind of conspicuous. It could also be totally nothing. It could be totally nothing. After an hour and a half of talking, I can imagine that they could use a break. So after the keynote, we pretty much have two kind of official, or three, four different kinds of activities or things that we will see on stream, more likely than not. Or, something like that. So the first is main panels. So the panels rather. So there's main panels and then there's community panels. Main panels would be the ones made by CCP. So we're talking about things like The Art of Eve into the Third Decade. That's going to be... This also, by the way, coming out right after this is incredibly promising, because that means that what they're about to show us is visually stunning, and then they want to show us more. But either way, like Team Security Q&A, live events, lessons... no, not that one. Nope, not that one. Maybe even Eve lore. Well, those are roundtables. Never mind. So Team Security, Art of Eve, Data Analytics, Embracing New Citizens, Living Universe... Anatomy of an Eve Online trailer. Some of the, I might be wrong about some of these, but these are the ones that are standing out to me as being like official CCP guys doing official CCP things. Eve Audio, probably. Quasar. Maybe MPSI Community and Development, but I think that that's probably a player presentation. So then the rest of these are more likely than not player presentations. And there's nothing wrong with player presentations. Player presentations are incredibly well put together, but like there's not going to be an announcement during a player presentation. These are usually, experts in their field, more or less, talking about what it is that they do, learning from alliance leaders, how to lead an alliance, learning from war commanders, how to manage a war, learning from, all kinds of things. Like Trust Trading in Trillions, running EVE Online's largest public investment fund. I'm pretty sure that's Oz, right? So, hey, 07 GM Trails, how's it going over there? So yeah, those are going to be the panels, and those are most likely, or not most likely, but probably going to be streamed. Now, unless they decide to have multiple streams going, which I don't know if they are, these ones that are coming at the same time will probably have to, they'll have to pick which ones they're going to do, right? And so likely they will prioritize dev panels over community panels, and they will prioritize even probably community panels over roundtables. In fact, it's very likely that we'll just see Tranquility streamed, but it could be we could see some of the Singularities or stage stuff. Either way, hold on one second. All right, so then there are the roundtables. Roundtables generally are not streamed and not recorded. In fact, they're usually pretty explicit about that. Sometimes they can be, but I know that they generally are pretty against it. And it's because roundtables are an opportunity for everybody to kind of just sit down, and it's basically a giant Q&A, right? Where most panel presentations have about, most panel presentations are about an hour long. And so it's usually about 40 to 50 minutes of actual presentation, and then 10 to 20 minutes of Q&A. Roundtables are basically 100% Q&A. What they do is they will set something up in a major panel, and then they will ask people that want to get involved or ask questions or whatever to come to the roundtable for more information.
Warping to Stargate.
07, thank you for that. Fade Atreides gifting 2 T1 subs to my community, going to Floydian Soon and I Mascat Man PNG. That's very, very kind of you. I appreciate it. 07 to you, my friend. So yeah. Then outside of those official kind of things that they're going to be talking about, in between, they'll have interviews. They'll likely have what they've had in the past is like a set place with like 4 or 5 chairs, and there'll be 1 or 2 community managers, and probably, you know, a rotating set of different people that come in. They'll have like some community manager or whatever running around just trying to find people that would be interesting to interview and bring them in and doing, you know, an interview. This is designed to fill time between, gosh darn it, 07. Epidemic, thank you for those 5 tier 1 subs to Legio, D Nemo, Stix613, Deferin, Derafin, Litherex, and Frankie DM 2. Thank you on all of their behalf and on mine for those gifted subs. That is extremely kind of you, and we are 1 away from a hype train. But for everybody's sake, I'm going to try to push forward. So we'll have interviews with with maybe some CCP people, like major announcements or whatever. Like, for instance, if Fozzie makes a big announcement, they'll likely interview Fozzie at some point. 07, thank you for that. With the hype train going on, of course, if you sub or do 100 bits, we will get you will get a hype train emote, and if we get at least through level 1, I will do a hype train, or sorry, a giveaway. Thanks to this hype train. Thanks to all of your guys' kindness. Oh, we're already done. Never mind, because of the 5 gifted subs. So yeah, when I'm done with this, we'll deal with the giveaway. But hype train aside. I really do appreciate it, guys. All right. So, you know, mostly though, the interviews will just be about, you know, streamers or other people that are known quantities within the community, right? Alliance leaders, you know, getting reactions to things, right? So if there are like follow-up questions, they might tackle some of those. It may just be the community managers like talking to themselves if they need to hype something up, but most likely not. The schedules are in GMT, yeah. Most likely than not, they'll try to get as many different players as possible to come and talk about things. And like I said, mostly semi or full-on famous, quote-unquote, Eve famous people. Everybody from like Max Singularity to... yeah, well, I mean, also anybody who does a player presentation is up for grabs. So, like, we will almost certainly see an interview with, like, Scott Manley, for example. So, either way, because it's kind of an opportunity for a little bit of a more intimate look at the person giving the presentations and stuff. And while giving, at the same time, getting kind of a vibe from the player base. So, then, the final thing that they're going to have is what I like to call activities. Activities are not designed to convey information or anything, but just to have fun, to celebrate EVE Online and Fanfest and everything that's going on, right? So a lot of those are not going to be streamed, like, for instance, the pub crawl and other such things like that. But the big one that is going to be probably almost certainly streamed is the CCP Games. The CCP Games is incredibly fun. Basically, it's like a game show, but it's all focused on CCP and themes. So like trivia, but also like physical challenges. It's almost like a double dare kind of nonsense. At least it has been in the past. I don't know. We don't think we have CCP Guard to host it this year, so it may change in vibe. But I can't imagine this community team is going to be too much of a stick in the mud compared to previous ones. So it'll probably be pretty darn ridiculous. And then, of course, there is going to be the party at the top of the world. The closing ceremony and the party at the top of the world. The closing ceremony is just like the opening ceremony, more or less administrative. The only announcements that you're going to get at that time is things like winners of the trivia contests, or, you know, winners of the contests, winners of the auctions, you know, that kind of stuff. and a look back on things, maybe even showing a short video of highlights from the last 2 days. That kind of stuff. And then they'll wrap it up. Everybody will go out, take an hour to get situated, and then we get the party at the top of the world, which is kind of this is a very popular thing in all kinds of public kind of conventions, where of course you have the concert at the end. So I don't remember exactly who's going to be performing or whatnot. I've heard a lot of different things. So if somebody wants to let me know specifically, we can say that. But expect it to be pretty wild. Expect a lot of Wrecking Machine, or not Wrecking Machine, but permaband type music or whatever. It's just a bunch of nerds being. It's a club for nerds. Like, nerds come and take over a club for an hour or two. So hopefully that'll be streamed. Should be. But yeah, that's about it. So it's going to be 2 days, and they're going to go over quite a bit. And so let's talk about predictions. As I said, I think that what we're going to get is, an expansion in shortly after this event. So, as I said, on the 17th or whatever. And I think that we're going to get the details of that expansion at FanFest. So, my most likely predictions is I am all but certain that we will get a faction warfare announcement. I'm not 100% sure if that's necessarily going to be part of the expansion that's coming out. Because there's going to be two different things announced, right? There's going to be the things that are part of this expansion, and there's going to be the things that are down the road, specifically looking towards the winter expansion, right? So they could very well announce some things to be for now, and that some things are going to be what they're working on through the winter and expansion. And I don't know which one of those two. No. Both of those count to saving the hat. My point is that the hat is safe. What I'm saying is that I don't know if the announcement is going to be that the feature is in the expansion or not, just to be clear. Or if there's going to be a smaller thing, or that they're working towards something and it'll be part of the winter event. That's a very possible thing. But it could be that it's totally ready. We'll see. Other high confidence. Well, I believe that we last talked about this. I said that I was pretty confident that we were looking at the new shooter, right? And I've given some reasons before. And by the way, just for 100% honesty and clarity, my previous argument that CCP is making their videos in a new in-house client instead of in Unreal is absolutely proven false. Most likely than not, those videos are made in Unreal. Either way. So I don't think necessarily that what we're looking at is something that's in client, but rather part of that Unreal project that they've been working on. Ryken Wolf, thank you for joining us. Hey. 07, thank you for that. So then I was being very conservative because last year I predicted that the shooter would be announced, and it wasn't. So they've been really close to the vest about it, and I've been going wild about the fact that these scope videos are really highlighting the expansion of their animation system and the fact that it's showing all these people developing their
month. C ping.
07, thank you for that. Then CCP Hilmar, which is Hilmar, the CEO of CCP Games, tweeted this: all these NPCs just casually walking in stations. And let me tell you this. Regardless of what this tweet hints at, CCP Hilmar knew exactly how people would take this. This was, there's, bear no mind, this was no mistake. The CEO of the company does not invoke the biggest mistake, the biggest failure this company has ever had, as far as like the actual EVE Online client, without due reason. Those are very particularly chosen words. In fact, a lot of the times they're running around. So calling it walking in stations. And a lot of the times it wasn't even in stations. So he explicitly calls out the fact that they are walking in stations, which those three words definitely mean something. And so the fact that he would say that, I don't know, man. This is what I mean by the fact that they seem overly confident. Now, again, I don't believe that this means the captain's quarters. I think that the captain's quarters is thinking far too small. All right? I think that whatever this... I've started calling it a shooter, right? But let's imagine whatever this avatar-based gameplay that is taking place in likely the Unreal Engine, but it could be in client, but it's probably in the Unreal Engine, is going to allow us to experience these sites. You know, we can see the development in the background. You know, at the beginning of Invasions, we see all these pictures that are given that are very obviously concept art. And then we start to see some of the development of that concept art. And recently we've seen fully rendered 3D modeled areas and people walking around with animation systems and all that stuff. Kind of feels like they're close enough to at least start showing it. Now, again, that doesn't mean it's out yet. That means it's like out in the next year or two. They may not even be ready for the alpha. Who knows? Or the beta or whatever it is. Probably they'll be ready to open up the beta by the time they show it off, just because they don't... But then again, the last time they showed off Nova, they said beta next month, and then they had to pull it back last thing. So they may actually just see how it goes first, but who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But all bets are off as to what this means. It just means that very, very likely what we're going to see is some sort of component that involves avatar-based gameplay. We'll put it that way. Yeah, they might allow us to walk around in G244. Well, yeah, but not just G244. So there's a lot of different landmarks that they've established. There's G244, there's the Pulse Bar, which they've now established as in canon. There's the CEP Spire. There's the Fortress on Skarkon. There's Kali. There's Ulai. There's Shatath City. So here's the crazy thing. Like we did the, I've been playing the Sine Wave Alpha and Sine Wave Omega, and those stories take place in a location called Shatash City. Well, if you look at the Symphonando commercial that plays on the back, on the bulletin board back here every once in a while, and it shows the different planets, when it shows off Amar, that like desert area with the big bluffs that they show, it specifically specifies that is Shatrath City. So that's what or Shatrath Spire. So that's what I mean by the fact that they've been actively establishing new locations that would be good for a shooter for a little bit, for basically since Nova was delayed. Hold on. Let me hide this. All right. Maybe we'll see the commercial in the background. You're using the WoW City name from Burning Crusade? What? Oh. Shatat? Wait, I don't remember. I can't. Yeah. No, I this happened all the time when I was reading it too, because it's Satash, but my brain keeps on wanting to say Shatath, or oh, I see, that might be why, because I said Shatrath so many times. But no, like I didn't actually get like the final th. I was saying like Shatrash or Shat. Well, maybe I don't know. Whatever. Either way, Shatash Spite, which is a location on Amar Prime. Either way, moving on. So, and then of course on my last like high confidence prediction is that we are going to see whatever this NPE thing is. Okay, so I'm going to be blunt with you. CCP, for this entire time of scarcity and all this kind of stuff, has been saying that they are mostly working on things like the NPE. They've been saying this literally since 2018. And more recently, they've said things like 80% of their workforce or their development efforts on EVE Online are on the NPE. And that is, on the surface, could be considered a pretty alarming thing to hear, especially as a person that's passed the tutorial. But I think that's because we only think of the NPE as the tutorial, right? If you think of NPE in this case as being almost code for PvE in general, right? As like, so if the PvE experience, the story, whatever, is the thing that people can experience first, the expectation, or the availability at least, is that you go through this unveiling story or universe, this in-depth PvE, and then once you're comfortable enough, you move over to PvP whenever you want to, or combination of both or whatever. So, that all of that could be PvE, right? Or NPE rather. So, but more importantly, if 80% of the development effort or whatever it is has been on the NPE, they have had very, very little to show for it, right? Basically, I mean, like, we had the new animation system and Aura, and there's a lot of background stuff, right? There's a lot of technical work to make the NPE content system that we've seen in the Air plot storyline kind of work. But once it's built, building more story in that seems like it would be easier. Building the tools to build things is far more complicated than the actual act of like constructing the actual narrative, right? So, what I'm trying to say is that the vast, vast majority of CCP's real dev effort has gone to something that we have not seen yet at all. And the closest hints that we have to it are some of the event sites, or some of the sites that we've seen recently, and the current Air storyline. And the current Air storyline has this whole plot that's about these unknown pirates that keeps kind of leaving it behind. Like it suggests that it's going to continue, right? And of course it's going to continue because they're not done with the NPE yet. In fact, they haven't even gotten rid of the career agents yet. So, we have a long ways to go. And the thing is that the plot itself has been developing towards this rise of this conglomeration of pirate alliances and criminal organizations and factioning there, and this idea of smugglers, right? Like the current event right now is not even the first time, not even the 20th time that the idea of smugglers and a new smuggler ring has come up in the last several months in the story. So the idea that the current Air NPE will kind of slot into the overall plot line and kind of balloon into a more of the living universe, what's happening story, as it were, the sides that we can join or whatever it is, however it plays out, like that's all been set up, but we haven't even seen the begin. Here, this ad right here. So Tenelin 6. Matar, the Jade Coast, right? Amar Prime, Shatash Spite. So Shatash City is at the base of that mountain, just so you know. So I've always wondered, why did they make this ad? They've been pushing towards this whole, like, we're going to do planets thing since Invasions began. And when I realized that this was a direct reference to what happened in Sine Wave Alpha, Sine Wave Omega, and Sunset, made me be like, oh, well, of course, this is that. Okay, they're setting that up. Got it. So, right. Well, that's because the system's clunky. Like, as I tweeted earlier today, like, what if Eve wasn't a niche game? What if Eve isn't a niche game in reality? It's just a bad game that some people have gotten past. Right? Like, we do cool stuff with the game. But that's what we do. The game itself has never been by itself good. But that's not because it can't be. It's because that entire side of the equation has been left to rot since 2005. Right? Like, I refuse to believe that this is a niche game until we actually have a universe that is worth engaging in besides the random shit that we come up with out of nothing. We should not have to create every single story out of whole cloth. That should not be the expectation. So I'm interested to see what happens if CCP implements a good game, a game that people will want to play for a while without relying on accidentally having some sort of communication with a player within the very, very short, I'm talking minutes or hours of window of opportunity that they have before they completely lose the player because there's no game. What if the game was good? And I hope that that's the question that they're going to answer. Now, more speculative. I believe that they're going to come out with a PI expansion. Eve is what D&D would be if they never released any campaign settings. You can do, well, actually, no. It's if they released a campaign book with a description of everything, but never any modules and never any, like, novels set in that universe. Well, technically 3 novels. But yeah, the rules in the universe exist, right? But there's no life to the universe, which is funny because we talk about it being a living universe. Oh shit. I didn't approve this. Hold on. Oh, there we go. So, yeah, I believe that it is very, very likely that we're going to get a PI overhaul. One of the things that they have said is when it came to the price increase. No, it's fine. One of the things that they said when it came to the price increase is that there's going to be new features that have been long asked for that are added to Omega clones. That to me means one of 3 things. And really only one of them. But it could mean more jump clones. It could mean the ability to log in multiple characters at the same time. But more likely than not, the thing that gets asked for a lot when it comes to features, PI on the mobile. That's my bet. Evo Huns, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole of Evo Online. So why do I think that there's a PI overhaul? First of all, because... Hold on. What I said before was that CCP needs to set the theme for what's going on, right? And I think that at least one of the themes, especially about this particular announcement, is going to be about planets, right? Like Avatar stuff, comic books, and faction warfare stuff, and PI slots into that. So if you wanted to, like, it would be the kind of thing that you would have in an expansion that's designed to play off of the theme of the planets, right? No. I'm not saying that it's integrated with the shooter. That's totally different. In fact, like I said, I hesitate to even call it a shooter anymore, but it's definitely not. Or I definitely don't call it a first-person shooter. I'll put it that way. So. Yeah. So what the PI overhaul entails, I'm not sure. But the thing is this. In 2019, CCP Hilmar established or identified that PI was a big thing that needed to be fixed. It actually became kind of a meme because he started playing again, went to a wormhole, did PI, and within 2 months, it's like, whoa, did you know that the PI system sucks and we need to fix it? And we're like, yeah, we know. But that said, we really haven't gotten much in that regard. This is true about both PI and faction warfare. Now, I personally believe that this is not a sign that they have been neglecting it. Quite the opposite. The problem is that they've had a lot of work to do, right? And there are some things that can be done quickly, and there are some things that require a whole lot of groundwork, that there's a lot of checkpoints along the way that have to be done first, right? So the PI overhaul, or sorry, the faction warfare overhaul could very well be, could not have happened until other things were ready. Therefore, we've seen only very, like, tangential things, easy wins, small shavings at the problems of faction warfare, things like structure control, et cetera, et cetera. But we haven't seen like a big revisioning of faction warfare or even branding and selling it like they seem to suggest that they wanted to back in the day, or, back in 2019. But they also said that it was something that they were going to have to work on towards the end of the creation, working on foundations. I think CP Hilmar specifically told me that it was going to be, that's a day 27 kind of thing out of the day 30, because they were working on the first 30 days. So all that's to say is that, like, the fact that they've come out with very little implies that the thing that they're working on could be very big, right? And so all we've seen is small foundational things that they've managed to be able to knock out on the way, or stopgap measures that needed to be implemented now to get them to when they're ready for the full thing. Same is true about PI. I believe that they fixed some basic things that were easily winnable with in mind the fact that a bigger overhaul is coming. So why would you do a medium overhaul? Why would you do more than a Band-Aid fix if you know that there's a big project to make that into a thing, right? So this is why I think that this is why, that's, well, not the only reason why I think that faction warfare is getting a rebalance, but it's why I think that the PI is also going to be part of it. Yeah, and yet faction warfare has an enormous potential to attract new players in the game. Okay, so thank you for that. I'm going to use that to transition to my final conclusion. What I believe that we are seeing here, actually, take a step back. There's a lot of people that have been angsty, confused, angry about things like the money change, or the cost changes and stuff like that, right? And let's be honest, feature after feature, event after event, the attitude of CCP has become abundantly clear. If you are a veteran and you are angry because of the way that this game is changing, we don't give a shit. If this is why you quit, we want you to go. It doesn't matter if it was some of the roll call pilot stuff, some of the the Titan spam stuff, the lore stuff with Doctor Who, across the board, what we've seen is we will no longer be held victim or be held, under basically be held hostage by the very population of the player base that is actually destabilizing the game. These veterans with amazing amounts of wealth that are literally sitting so heavy on the structure that they're the ones that cause the problem for the people that would love to be there, right? Like, the problem is that people can't necessarily aspire to become the next Goonswarm Federation because they have to deal with Goonswarm Federation, more or less, right? They're growing up in a totally different environment, an established environment. And so ultimately, if what CCP has decided is that they are going to make Eve into what they think is going to be good for it. And if people want to get so mad about any given change that this is the reason why they quit, then they should quit. This is the attitude I've seen across the board. I even felt it directly when it was time for Doctor Who. Like, I mean, it's not totally, like, heartless, don't get me wrong. But overall, it's like, if you can't handle this, it's okay, we'll find people who do. Which brings me to my overall prediction. New shooter. Comic book. Clear skies. Animations. Living universe. Pay increases. Need to expand. All of these fundamental industry changes. All these changes that don't make sense if you are catering to the established population, and make every bit of sense if your expectation is that whatever you have, whatever it is that they have to show, is going to vastly increase the popularity of EVE Online in general. Right? In other words, the way that their actions make sense in my eyes is that if their expectation is that our current population, as angsty as we are, could very well be the minority, maybe not necessarily of playing EVE Online, like the actual client, but of people interested in the EVE universe. So what I believe is that what they're going to do is attempt to rebrand the IP. The entire goal here is to take EVE Online into a game that everybody says is this niche game that's spreadsheets in space, that EVE is a game for for people who are nerds. Sorry, EVE players are the nerds as nerds are the normal people. You know, all these things. Oh man, I would love to play EVE, but I would never have the time for it. All this shit that is said every single goddamn day in every forum, in every post that is ever made publicly about EVE Online. That attitude. I remember when EVE Valkyrie came out, and the Yogscast did an episode where they played EVE Valkyrie, and they were extremely positive about it. And they said good things about EVE Online, too, that they had played it, and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and that they were really excited because of this. And they did have fun. But in the comments, it was all the same bullshit about the EVE universe itself. Now, I'm not saying that's why Valkyrie died, but that was the moment that I realized that the real problem that we have with EVE is that its brand is sick. This is why I said that I don't believe that EVE is a niche game. I think it's a broadly appealing game with a series of bad implementations and a really, really bad public image. So if CCP, by introducing a new PvE and universe and all this kind of stuff, a new way to engage with the empires, a new living universe, if they can sell that, then they can sell this as the world's most expansive sci-fi universe. Strip away all the bullshit about how mean everybody is. Yes, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying actually cheesing anything down. I'm not saying remove anything from the game. I'm not saying get rid of the nullsec blocks. In fact, I'm saying let all that stuff be there. They're all things to aspire to. But what if people played the game? Every person that I talk to that's a brand new player within the first few days of playing the game, they're not necessarily worried about ISK except for the fact that they're trying to figure out how to, like, sustain themselves. No. They're not trying... Well, some of them are trying to get into empires or whatever. It depends on what they're joining. But one of the things I see a lot are people that are just interested in the universe. Like, they want to fly around in a spaceship. They want to see space. They want to go to landmarks. They want to make a difference. And they want to feel like they're getting better at the game. And that's the thing that the game doesn't give them. And it makes them disappointed. And they either quit 90% of the time, or they decide that the player-based stuff is worth doing. And so they get into it. No, not Eve 2. Just a good PvE. What if you just revamp just imagine, high level, get rid of redo the entire mission system, the entire Cosmos system, and Epic Arcs, such that you now have missions that are related to what's going on, that can, basically be story arcs. Certain missions can proc into different story arcs. You could do different stories to unlock different kinds of missions to do. You can learn more about, you can delve into the secrets of various empires by exploring their missions. You could advance those empires' interests by doing those missions. When faction warfare is losing, different missions will happen to help people get the war zone ready for extra resources. There'll be missions that lead you towards faction warfare. What if a level 4 storyline mission tells you to go report to a faction warfare agent? What if the universe itself actually felt alive and these were agencies that you could work with, that had goals and interests? They have AI controllers for empires at this point. People thought that invasions was decided by the GMs or by the devs, but it was not. The invasions were controlled by AI actors that were fighting each other, using us as tools. This is what they've been working towards this whole time. So if you implement that, and you have this new shooter or this third-person game where you can go around and walk around and go to these different sites and explore the universe, and you have a comic book that helps introduce everybody to the ideas of what's going on and why there's conflict, and introduce them to the catalysts of the current ongoing stories. And at the same time, you come out with things like videos or movie deal or TV show, or even just showing off or making Clear Skies 4 into like as big of a deal as they possibly can. All of this sells to the world. Guess what? EVE Online is a really good sci-fi universe now. EVE Online is a really good sci-fi game. You should play, if you like spaceships, you should play EVE Online. Imagine if you heard that. I'm not saying that this is what they're going to actually get away with. What I'm saying is that I think that this is what their expectation is. I think that this is what their goal is. Their expectation is to rebrand, or at least revive, the brand of EVE Online. I think that Pearl Abyss saw potential in EVE Online as an IP. It was a universe that was failing to reach its potential, and it was bad in ways that we know are bad. There's no confusion about it. There's no one who thinks that it's perfectly great that most of the PvE is over 10 years old. Nobody thinks it's a good idea that incursions still exist. Like, even the people that run them don't really like them, except for the fact that they're good money makers. There are people that whinge because of the fact that it makes too much money. It's too easy. There are people like me that whinge about the fact that it's the exact same rate since fucking 2010, right? Like, we know what the flaws are. So if we fix even half of those, we could have a good game, or at least one that we can sell to more people. And if they do that, then all of this other stuff makes sense. If their idea is that they're rebooting the game, as it were, in that sense, then it makes sense that you do industry changes first. It makes sense that they do all of these changes right now, because all of this stuff that they have done is bad for the old players, because we have the context of the life before. But the community that they're going to bring in doesn't. They're never going to know any other way. They're never going to even think that it's unusual that PI is required to build battleships. Which, by the way, who knows what it takes to make PI at this point? It's kind of interesting how they keep relying on PI, even though PI is such a bad system. It's almost like they're expecting PI to be a better system that more people are doing because, I don't know, it's available on the phone or something. or they've built it to make it so that it's easier to like maybe more like the old Echoes version where it's just, you know, daily login reward. 07 Cold Wave for your 6-month sub. Thank you for that. Nice. So yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. That is what my expectations for FanFest is, but we will see more about that in just a couple of days. The other option is that it's all going to be terrible, and we get to talk about how much CCP conned us all, and I'll be on your side about that. So one way or another, we get to the end of this journey that we've been going on for 3 years, which I'm really excited. I'm honestly excited about that fact more than any given feature that they might announce. Like, just the fact that all of this is over just makes me so glad, one way or another. Trade Kid, thank you for joining us, right? Yeah. But how do you develop attachment to new players to some of the less developed factions and races of Eve, especially if there isn't a big cache of content around them? A, you can build those out later. And B, hey, LSR, thank you for that, 07. And Shaldis, thank you. You can develop those characters anyways, and it's okay for there to be minor factions that kind of sit, like EOM, for example, right? Like, it's good for them to be able to sit in the shadows, and they probably don't necessarily broker with players very much. But as I've said before, like, what if our standings with the different pirate factions like really reflected what their factions were? Like, what if you could dock in Serpentis stations basically until you're like -8, but if you get below -2 with Sancha, they lock you out because Sancha's way more xenophobic, and Serpentis are basically free-ported. You know, what if having high standings with the Guristas got you access to the Smuggler Gate network, and Serpentis got you access to better drugs? What if, you know what I mean? Like there's so many different ways that you could showcase the texture of this game beyond what they've already done. What 3-year journey is coming at an end? In 2019, they talked about what they wanted to do, building up the foundation so that way they can move on to the next thing. And then we had 2 years of scarcity. As I mentioned earlier, we haven't had a for real proper FanFest for 4 years, and we haven't had any FanFest at all for 3. So we have been going on this 3-year journey where in 2019 they kind of tipped us off as to where we were going, and then pandemic happened, and also Chaos Era. So CCP kind of locked down their information because they made it... Basically, in 2019, CCP decided what they were going to do, more or less, at least the outline of it. And they realized that what they wanted to do was disruptive. And so part of what they wanted to do required them to be more secretive about it. Us not knowing ahead of time was part of it, which is why around that time you start seeing the CSM openly starting to complain about how CCP is not talking to them anymore, right? Why would CCP need to talk to them about these things if they don't even have the context to get feedback about it, or if CCP already knows how it's going to go over? If they know that a feature is going to be super unpopular to the general public, like the industry changes were, why bother getting too much clearance from the... Actually, industry change is a bad example. I can't remember one of the things that they announced. The pay increase. Why vet the cost increase to the CSM? You know what they're going to say. Why would you even think to do that? Who cares? Fucking just put it out there. You know what I mean? So like, there's a lot of things that we don't know, but they gave us an idea of where they were going in 2019, and they said that they weren't going to be able to come out with much, but they're working on foundations. That translated into scarcity, and it's been a very painful process. And here we sit at the end of that. Here we sit at the end of this journey where CCP gets to look back and say, this is what we did and why. And this is what we get to get. We need to know why we spent the cost that we did, why we have gone through the pain that we have gone through over the last 2 to 3 years. And what does it get us? What was all this for? Right? If all these foundations were necessary for the health of the game, which admittedly I don't disagree with, I went back and looked at some of the old stuff from 2019, and it just reinforced the fact that, like, all of this happened for a very good reason, right? The problems needed to be fixed. Nobody thought that this was going to be a pleasant experience. But we're at the end. And it's time for us to now at the other side, look back, answer for it, and look forward and get inspired. That's it. That's their goals. That's what we either need to get. We either get that at FanFest or CCP has failed. And at this point, I'm not sure if they survive another failure of that magnitude. Period. Hell, I'll see to it. As I said, if they bungle it that bad, if they come out and they're like, and our big announcement is play to earn, I will be the front line with the spear driving it into their heart. I swear to you that right now. I just don't expect that to be the way it is. I expect us to be at least pleased with what they say, if not what they're ready to roll out, literally like amazed by what they're ready to roll out the moment they announce it, more or less. So either way, I hope to see you guys there. My plan is the keynote is at like 3:30 in the morning for me, I think. So my plan is I'm going to actually be up and streaming during the keynote live. We'll talk about why pay to earn is terrible afterwards. Do you think it's going to be released at FanFest to TQ? No. I said the 17th. I think that the 17th is the date for the expansion. They would never roll it out actually at FanFest. They might roll out the Singularity server for it. Yeah, CCP may be overconfident, but the problem is that like at this point, in order for them to be that far off the mark, they would have to be literally lying. Right? Which, I mean, they've been overconfident in the past, but not recently. And they've never, from my remembrance, outright lied in that sense, right? Like straight up saying, 2 years of content or this, biggest stuff and huge, all this kind of stuff that they've said. Like there's a certain threshold there where they've gone out of their way to say specific things that if they don't deliver on, they're just literally lying. And they're not really known for lying. What could they possibly add to the game to justify the sub increase? A game. Again, we don't have a game. We have a series of mechanics that we make a game out of. Anywho, yeah, I'm going to cut it there. So for those of you watching on YouTube, thank you very much. If you're still here, thank you. It's been a journey. But this is one of those longer ones. Like, comment, and subscribe if you can. It really does help. I know you hear that a lot, but like, I look at my metrics. It is a huge difference between when people do and when people don't. But thank you all for coming out. And I wanted to make sure to thank BlackRoseNoble, Serenalin, Syliana Vel'ash, Nephilim, Grendel, Ebo1337 and Elange. Thank you all. And all of my supporters are listed down below. If you want to join that list for just $1, you can join the list down below. For at least $5 a month, you can get me reading out your name, or at least trying to, as often as I can. So with all that said, I have been Ashtarothi, and until next time, I'll see you in space. Don't go anywhere. All right. All right. Hey, I still have an hour to do stuff. Awesome. Only been playing a couple months, but how come the ships are locked behind Omega? Tech 2 and Tech 3 are locked behind Omega. Because Tech 2 and Tech 3 aren't required necessarily for any major activity. I had a whole stream where we talked about the pay changes. Yeah, this is how I do things. Like on my stream, I record segments and then I go back and I snip it. It's fine. It's totally cool. It's just I don't have enough time to both stream and make edited content on YouTube, so I structure my stuff to work for both. So I actually have a video that I haven't released yet from a previous stream where I talk about that a little bit. But basically, the problem is that if alpha clones are able to be resource extractors or producers, then you quickly run into a problem where production can scale infinitely. The fact that alphas can only be consumers for the most part balances it naturally, right? Because it can only, like, it's still as hard as it is to get those resources. They have to be consumers and workers rather than producers and extractors. The only real resource acquisition that alphas can do is exploration, because that's active, very active, and doesn't scale. Like, if you allowed alphas to mine, then you'd really have to deal with people like having alpha fleets of like 50 people. Technically against the rules, but like it'd be super hard to, like, it would get messy. They can huff gas. Can they now? Are you sure? Don't get me wrong, they can do these things, but the whole reason why they can't, like, go into mining barges, I mean, like, basically they're allowed to dabble in basic resource acquisition or industry, but they're not allowed to be like movers and shakers in those fields, if that makes sense. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's good. I remember there was once an issue that alphas couldn't huff gas, because there was an event that required huffing gas in order to do it. So maybe that got changed because of that. I can't remember. PI is allowed, but it really stretches the definition of dabble, because you're allowed to basically have one command center, but you're not allowed to use the POCO. I figured this out once. Like, it's terrible. But you could, in theory, if you really, really wanted to, you could put an extractor on a planet, extract a little bit, and then blast it into space, not to the POCO, but just into space, and then go and retrieve it. You'd be able to do it. Nope, not quite all of them. Let's look. I've tried this before. Like, I wanted to see exactly how far alphas could go with PI, and that's what I ran into. Was that basically I could have like one extractor. Because you can't upgrade your command center, right? So you have a completely unupgraded, you have one unupgraded command center. You don't have any power grid or CPU for anything. So you can have like one extractor, one command center, extract shit, send it to the command center, and then blast it into space. Where is it? Planetary management. Oh, shoot. It doesn't say where the alpha is. One second. My skills? Oh. You can't export PI as an alpha, can you? No, you're not allowed to use the POCO. That's why I said you can blast it into space, which is probably the least used feature in all of EVE Online, let me tell you. If you don't want to pay the taxes, you can actually just blast it into space with a flat loss. Try Hemdall. Thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole to EVE Online. Let me go double check. Yeah, and that's not with any skill injectors either. Try Hemdall. Yeah, oh wait, hold on. I don't know what I said, but 070. Oh no. Okay, there you go. There's the sub. I got it now. 07 Try Hemdall. Thank you so much for that support. You get all those emotes from the corporations involved in the Precursor Crisis, SOE, SOCT, Thucker Concord, and many more. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all your support and for the ability to do all this stuff. It's absolutely true that that's like effectively my full-time job, and I'm also really bad at monetization. So I appreciate all of you that decide to go out of your way to give me money. Sure does make it easier for all of us. What's the rewards? Oh, for the anniversary? Oh, there's quite a bit. So there's the set of SOCT ships and the skins, and then there's a bunch of boosters, which the boosters are bonkers, by the way. And let me double check. I could be wrong. Am I 100% wrong? Hold on. Hold on. How did I do it then? Yep. I want to point out that this character has never been Omega. So here's the problem. This skill, planetology. Wait, which one is it? Sorry. Interplanetary consolidation. Ah, here's the secret. Okay, check it out. Interplanetary consolidation adds 1 extra command center per level.
Syliana Vel'ash donated $50.
Syliana Vel'ash, you sure are fabulous. I love you, dude. It's good to see you. By the way, a little bit of an aside, just because Syliana is here. I just want to say that this morning I learned a very, very valuable lesson in EVE Online, or in Final Fantasy 14, which is when leaving a dungeon and then using a treasure map, double check your class and job before you open up the treasure chest. I just used a time-worn max level solo map, activated it, summoned the demon, and it punched my level 54 ass into the ground, and it was dusted. I don't want to know how much money worth of stuff I lost. But either way, I digress. So if you see here, it says +1 command center per level of the skill to a maximum of 6, which means without the skill, you can do 1. So this is my colony. Oh, it says all exporting unavailable. Oh no, can I still do it? Hold on. Launch. Add. Can I? There we go. And it costs 374 ISK. I mean, whatever. I'm going to not go pick it up, but I don't even know where this is. What planet? Oh, Botane. Yeah, whatever. So I'm going to launch it. If it works, then it works. Ready? Oh, no, you can't actually launch it. Shit. I don't know if I never checked that before or if they changed it. So you could sit there and extract all you want, but then eventually you're going to have to go Omega to get it off the planet. That's hilarious. Well, there you go. You can have one facility that doesn't do much. That's awesome. You need a... Oh, maybe they did change it. Maybe they did change it. They must have changed. Like I said, this character, I can guarantee you, has never been Omega. When the alpha program first came out, I made 4 different alphas, one of each race, in order to do my alpha challenges to prove whether or not each race was viable because they were racially locked originally. This was my Galente one. So I can verify this dude has never been Omega. And yet, here's my colony. He's only got more than 5 million skill points because occasionally I do login rewards, I'm pretty sure. Speaking of which, I should... That's awesome. All right, well, fair enough. Can I go do event sites now, please? You have to be, well, yeah, it says that you need to be Omega to be able to use, it literally says up here in the top left corner, you can't really see it because of my cover, my face is in the way, but it says all exporting disabled. Clone state Omega is required to export goods from planets. Sorted. All right, you ready for my tinfoil? They made that change, as like this change confirms that the PI to the phone is going to be the premium thing for the Omega. Because why else would they intentionally go back and block out all of the PI from Omega? Ooh, ooh! All right. What did I just get? Hold on. Oh, fuck off. So, about a week ago, I think it was, I tweeted from Ash because I finally got my first epic skin. And it was a Minakawa skin for Ashtarothi. And I was like, wow, how, like, particularly, like, sticking it to me that is. And then today, my other account, which is mostly Kaldari, my missile, my rattlesnake pilot, my industry pilot, just got her first epic, and it was a Thanatos skin. And I'm just like, now you're just fucking with me. Do you think that they'll ever try to sort of roll back of the alpha thing? Do you think that they're regretting it now? You mean like eliminate the idea of alpha clones? Quick question. I've been mainly doing security mission. What? Hold on. Mr. What catalyst skin? I've been doing mainly only security agent missions. Is there a better way for a newbie to make money? What tier of mission? How much skill points do you have? And are you, like, what kind of activities do you want to do? No, I understand that it's a catalyst. What skin for this catalyst? So
warping to Stargate.
Thingamajig 07, thank you for that. Halcyon Dawn. Oh, well then yeah, no, you got kind of screwed, mister. Sorry about that. So if you want to know what there is to do in the game, one of the best ways to do that, honestly, that isn't talked about much, is if you go to your personal in your Neocom and go to activity tracker. Another thing you can do is look at the agency. In the agency, which I have a whole video where I break down all of the things in the agency a little bit more and talk about this, but you can find, faction warfare is a great way for new players to get money if you want to do it through PvP. Abyssal Dead Space is a great way to make money if you are willing to, like, while missions are very basic and non-demanding, but allows you to kind of go through the motions in order to make your money, Abyssal Dead Space will test you. And the harder you go, the more money you're going to make. And it's all like frigates, destroyers, and cruisers. So if you want to get into more like active learning how to pilot, Abyssal Dead Space is a great way to do it. If you want to make money outside of combat, then exploration with combat signatures are going to be one of the best ways for an alpha to be able to make money. It's really exploration and faction warfare are the best ways for an alpha to just get some money real quick without, basically leveraging the little skill points that they do have. And yeah. And then finally, if you do this login rewards, somewhere down the line, Thingamajig, thank you for joining us down the rabbit holes. Wait, you subscribed before you followed? I mean, I'm not criticizing. I appreciate it, but that's unusual. So, if you look at these login rewards, oh my god, they put it behind Omega. Oh, that's just mean. Did they always do that? Well, if you're an Omega, No, because of the fact that it's Capsuleer Day, so these Praxi are already relatively cheap for battleships. And the thing about the Praxis as a battleship, is that A, it has 0 skill points requirements, right? So there's no need to train battleship skills. In fact, there's no need to train any piloting, like spaceship command skills at all for the Praxis. Nice. The other thing that's useful about it, though, is that it can also be used with any weapon system, any large weapon system. And none of that is based on skills either. It's all roll bonuses. So what that means is that if you have an alpha clone, let's say you make a brand new one using a buddy code, like you can get if you hit !Eve or look at my doobly-doo on YouTube. You can use a buddy code to get 1 million free SP and combine that with a Praxis. And we had people that were able to do invasions, which are like incursions, literally within the amount of time it takes to apply the skill plan. We have people that are able to fight in PvP in doing structure defenses and battleships in the amount of time it takes to apply a skill plan. Because you no longer have to deal with any of the spaceship command skills. You only have to deal with the bare minimum skills to be able to get the guns or the weapon system and how to use them effectively, and fitting skills and like capacitor management. Those are the side skills, right? Because everything else is basically just given to you by the ship. SOCT needs a cruiser. No, they have all the in-betweens. They already have released the Tiamat. Bring back invasions. Wait till Fanfest. Yeah, that's a good point, Valamir. That's a good point. It's just let me put it this way. I didn't really think it through. Oh no, I think I did. Never mind. Because I remember when I was talking to Gory about his like hardcore Iron Man mode, that I was saying that like if he just holds out for a couple months, they'll give him a free Praxis. But he was Omega. Trig Titans, CCP has given every indication that Titans aren't necessarily the way they want to go. Put it that way. Now, a Trig mining ship or a Trig industry ship, that is actually a very good likelihood. But, I mean, a very good possibility, I should say, not likelihood. Sancha invasion of G244? Well, so, again, G244 hasn't been attacked yet, right? Wait a minute. G244 hasn't been attacked yet, and the setting of this current Fanfest is Jita. So, if there is going to be an attack on G244, wouldn't it make sense to happen during Fanfest? Because it can actually happen at Fanfest. That's what I'm saying. Like, I honestly, there's a part of me that believes that what we're going to see is the 3 new characters are going to communicate with us directly. We are going to get a message from Zohan, Ezra, or whatever her name is, and the Peacock, asking us to join their side against Concord. Titans should be this epic thing that you see one day. Yeah. So I went back, and as I was saying, I was going back through the older videos because I was trying to hunt down a certain thing that CCP Hilmar said. Failed to find it, but one of the things that I did note that they found was, hey, Lord Kalakawai. I know I haven't given everybody a shout out, but I'll give you a shout out. And if anybody else needs a shout out, let me know if I missed you. Where was I? Yeah, so they've been establishing these characters. And the event has a whole second half where we're working for the smugglers instead of for Concord. So I think it's very possible that these characters that they've been setting up are going to attempt to recruit us at FanFest, as I said. What am I up to today? Once again, I'm talking instead of doing what I want to do. I didn't say Jita's going to burn. What I'm saying is that the Jita attack may be more in person than out of game, but who knows? I'd really want multiboxing gone. Oh yeah, it is. But I guess the only reason why I'm grumbling at all, and it's not even like a real grumble, but I do know that like during the hunt, I didn't even get to finish the track because I kept getting, we're going to go with distracted by other things, you know? Like, and it was all fine, but like, I don't want to lose sight of actually doing the events. I need money too. Without multiboxing, Eve dies? Under its current conditions, that is true. But let me posit you something. That is not true for almost every MMO. So the fact that it is true with Eve represents an anomaly. And again, back to what I was saying is I believe that these anomalies are less to do with because Eve is somehow uniquely special in that way, and more that Eve has some deep-seated flaws that we have adapted for that don't necessarily need to exist. I sincerely believe that if we give people an opportunity to have a quality game that allows them to progress without having to use multiboxing, most people will abandon it. I'm going to go back to what I've always been told when in an MMO. Go make a goddamn friend. Like, if they gave us the tools to actually be able to have groups with people and feel safe about it and, cooperate in a more effective way with actual sites that are favorable to that. Oh, shit. There's a Tengu that's going to go in. I don't know if that's a good idea at all. He's going to try to assassinate me, isn't he? Does anybody know if that whole thing about T3 cruisers spawning extra rats is true or not? Like, I know that was being claimed. It's true. No? Yeah. Here's my suspicion. Hold on.
Drive active.
Aw. Let's try to get him to trigger. So, like, my suspicion is that... Yeah, exactly. He's going to warp in and then leave. Exactly. That's what my suspicion is. My question is, do I want to do it anyways? He seemed really quick to say I can have it. Let me go check. Oh, yeah, he's 10 years old. I'm not... I'm not even going to give him the... I am not going to give him the... What is it called? Satisfaction. New patch says they spawn a little bit more slowly and aggressively. We'll not have this be my first site today. How about that? To my knowledge, the activity tracker was the first attempt to install a simple achievement system in Eve. Do you think that they'll reiterate and fix it or perhaps even extend it? Yes. Yeah. In fact, actually, I want to do a poll real quick.
Docking permission requested.
I was going to do this on Twitter, but let's try it here first. Hold on. Dashboard, right? Yeah. I want to know if you want CCP to introduce a achievement system and whether or not you want that achievement system to have rewards or not. And by rewards, I usually mean like non-game impacting rewards. Like maybe a module, but not something that's exclusively that way, but mostly like titles and stuff like that. Sir Limp Noodle, thank you for following.
Woohoo.
And Frost McNuggins with a tier 1 sub for 11 months, 9 months in a row. Thank you for that. 07 to you, my friend. It's good to see you, Frosty. Okay, so let's do the poll thing. Should CCP add achievements? Yes, with rewards. Yes, without rewards. No. With, no, or I guess just no. And I don't want to do additional votes because I want to know what you guys honestly feel. Without you know, people weighing on it. Lord Kalakawai, 07 to you for your tier 1 sub. Thank you so much for that support. 6 months in a row. Once again, go ahead and check out Lord Kalakawai's stream. He's an awesome dude. He streams from Hawaii. He's got a very chill attitude and a very chill vibe. All right, 1 minute. Let me know. Should CCP add achievements? The reason why I'm doing this this poll is because when CCP first introduced the thing that we're talking about. Oh! Try Hemdall with 5 gifted tier 1 subs. Usser Nami, Vathrak, Brendan Gallos, Dredge, and Recycled Gamer. Thank you on behalf of all of those guys, my entire community, and myself. I love gifted subs. I love the idea of, like, it supports the streamer, but it also supports the community. It tells them that hey, I want you to be a member of the community. I've always loved that. Thank you so much for that. It's very cool of you. So when CCP first added 61% yes with rewards, that's pretty overwhelming. 26% says no, and 13% says yes with rewards. Now, that's only of 23 people that responded, so it's not necessarily like indicative of the whole mass, but you know, it's a quick poll. So the point is that when they first released achievement or the activity tracker, the player base was super resistant to the idea of achievements and explicitly did not want CCP to add any kind of reward for any of these kinds of achievement things, because achievements are what other games have, and EVE is better than those other games, and if you want to play those kinds of things, go back to WoW. And they don't want to feel like CCP's telling them what they have to do, and if there's a reward, even if it's a cosmetic one, they're going to feel like CCP's telling them that they have to do it. Like, that is actually the argument that was being made. Now, a lot has changed back then, which is why I wanted to do the quick poll. I sincerely believe that the attitude about these kinds of things have changed a lot. So yeah, I think that they're going to revisit that topic. Achievements would be another Z-kill? No, it wouldn't. No. So the key about achievements... Okay, hold on. Okay. When MMOs that claim to be sandboxes say things like, you can do anything, what they're really saying is, we're not giving you any direction at all. That is a failure on their behalf, not yours. Right? Like, that is a lack of motivations is not by itself a good thing. Now, should there be a hard path that you absolutely have to walk down, like, say, Final Fantasy's MSQ? No. The point of a sandbox is that you can choose what you want to engage in. But if there's no opportunity given, then there's nothing to engage with, right? Not having specified things, not having things try to draw you in, try to entice you in, that not being given at least a motivation. If you're given a motivation, you can choose to accept or deny that motivation. If you're never given that motivation, then you have nothing to accept or regret or reject. And basically you're just saying, hey, go figure stuff out on your own. I don't want to make anything for you. So achievements aren't just for like this thing to keep experienced players coming back or whatever, right? Like trying to get their points up. Like it does become that. And as experienced players, we often look at it from that lens. But think about it this way. When you first start playing a game with achievements, how often do you pull open the achievement list and just scroll through them? How many times on Steam, when you play a Steam game, do you go and check the achievements and then check to see like what's the rarest achievement you have? What's the rarest achievement you think you can get? So what achievements are just a set of ideas that you can choose to take or not take. So the activity tracker does a good, okay, well, some people do, some people don't. Those who do, it's useful. If you don't know what you're going to be doing, if you don't know your direction, if you need ideas about what to do, a lot of people will check the achievements because that's what it is. It's a list of things to do. You can choose to do it or not to do it, but it's a list of things to do. The activity tracker, that's why I was saying, like the activity tracker is good in that sense because you can be like, oh, well, there's exploration. What does this mean? How do I get this number higher? Oh, I have to scan signatures. That's part of exploration. Okay, cool. All right, well, let's say I've done some encounters. That guy who asked, what can I do besides missions? Well, missions are a kind of encounter. So other things that you can do in the encounter category, if you don't want to do missions, oh, look, what's a storyline mission? What's an epic arc? Oh, there's all these different epic arcs I can do. Oh, I wonder how I can do those things, right? You've never went into this window, right? But that's because yeah. I mean, it could be because you're not an achievement person. Not everybody keys on this, but there's a good population that does. And the problem is that EVE Online has survivor biased against this kind of thing because the people who rely on this kind of feature to give them direction quit the game because it didn't have it. Not because they couldn't, not because they wouldn't be good for EVE in the long run, but because if the game doesn't give them anything, then they don't think that there's anything to do. So, but what an achievement would do, I do remember when those stats got reset, but I also remember that it got reset several times, but then they got restored. I don't think I've ever had it reset and then not get restored at all. Because it's tracking it, but it can't always pull it, if that makes sense. So if they gave a skin or something for hitting those milestones, right. So that's one thing. If they give milestones, then it becomes a reward. It becomes a thing to do. People will do it as a checklist, or as a like, I don't know what else to do. What should I work towards today? It's just a list of things to work towards. But more importantly, the problem with this is that this system can only track things that are repeated, for the most part. Things that are, done over and over, because it tracks how many times you've done a thing, how much bounties you've made, how many abyssal dead spaces you've gone through, how many incursions you've stopped, how many faction warfare sites you've completed, how much ore you've mined, how much resources you've extracted, how many you've salvaged, how much you've manufactured, how much you've researched, how much you've done reactions. It doesn't tell you whether or not you've been to BTAC-R. That's what an achievement would be for. If you want landmarks, you would need a set of achievements that tell you what cool places you could even go to. That's why I think that Eve needs achievements, because it's not just about these repeated things where you grind up numbers. It's about things to do. And the real value of achievements is things that you want people to do once. There should be an achievement. There should be an achievement that simply says, construct a black glass implant. And what it takes to do that is up to you to find out. Or maybe there's an achievement that just simply says, use an Entosis link on the Project Discovery Site 1. And you can, right-click on it to set destination to it. That's it. That's the only breadcrumb you need. Zorvik8472, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, what I'd recommend you do is go get a ship, stick an Entosis link on it, go to the Project Discovery Site 1, and not Site 1, but Project Discovery Phase 1 Memorial, and use the Entosis on it. But yeah, like going to major key events or locations, experiencing certain things, hitting certain milestones and thresholds. I mean, we say that we don't want achievement systems, and then Zkill literally has an achievement system on it, right? And more importantly, this shit needs to be showable. The thing that has always pissed me off about this is that I can't link my activity tracker to anybody. I can't make a profile. My God, let me tell you, Final Fantasy 14 6.1, the patch that just came out, is like one of the most wildly successful patches, like point releases I have ever seen for an MMO. Foxor27, thank you for joining us on the Rabbit Hole Z Online. The amount of I really enjoy your content and whatnot, but I feel like you want to pull Eve into a huge PvE universe. No, hold on, time out. No, I don't want to pull it into a PvE universe. What I'm saying is that as it stands, the sandbox is deficient because the universe is dead. If you want to be able to have a mark on the actual universe, you need to have a universe that is doing things that your interactions can influence. I'm saying that the game is deficient and needs to have a it can't neglect one side for the other. Or more importantly, neglecting one side doesn't make the other side better. And making a good game does not take away from PvP. But what it does is it ends up with more players staying longer, learning more, gaining more confidence, gaining more knowledge, and becoming better pilots. More likely to become out there fighting, more likely to become engaged, more likely to become invested. That's what it is, period. So no, having a good PvE does not take away from PvP, but having a bad PvE destroys our ability to have PvP. All right, so Final Fantasy 6.1, huge patch. It came out with a new Alliance raid, which is like their 24-man raids, I think it is. It came out with a new dungeon. It completely revolutionized the PvP game, completely. Every single class was changed. There's a whole new game mode. They've taken PvP in Final Fantasy 14 to being the weakest portion of the game, to being one of the reasons why you would want to even play Final Fantasy 14. Like, you could want to play Final Fantasy 14 just to play the PvP now. It's that good. And all that happened in this one patch. But you know what? You know what the most out of control successful feature was this year, or for this patch? Profile plates. You can now make your own profile plate. You can set the background. You can take a picture of yourself. You can pose yourself and decide how you want yourself to look, how you want to present, what job you want to say you do, what title you want to show. And you can even post on there when you play. It's got like the little availability ticks, and you can just specify when you are. So you can share as much about yourself or as little. You can show off what other jobs you can do and all that stuff. Yeah, adventure plate. Can you see my adventure plate? I put it on Twitter, but I can go look for it. But my point is that people want to show off their shit. People want to show people who they are. Blizzard Entertainment didn't make the Armory portal because it was good economics. It fell out of thin air. It took a lot of development effort, but it was worth it to them because people want to show off their shit. People want to say, hey, look at my character. Look at what I've done. Look at where I've been. I have the achievement that says I was at BTEC R. That's how cool I am. Everybody wants to have something that shows people why they're cool. Not everybody. Fine. There's going to be at least one person that says, I don't care about that. But my point is that, like, that is a prime motivation, dude. The fact that all this stuff exists and it is not shareable, but through API or through linking in game, that, in my opinion, is the biggest sin of the activity tracker. Like, why even have an activity tracker if it's not shareable? Oh, sure. I'm not going to do sites. God damn it. It's time to shut down. Tomorrow, we're pretty much just prepping for stuff. So it should be all events. Let me just look for this thing and... Nope. But my point about the adventure plate is not just that it allows you to show off what you've done, but it allows personalization. You get to show off who you are, right? Not only in what clothes you show, but also in how you pose yourself, in what decisions you make about the actual, the side pieces of it. Hold on, here you go. So this is my character. So regardless of what I am playing as in the game, it will show that my primary thing is a red mage. And, this is my character. I decided to put the gold there. That's an option. The background, I went with red triangles, and I'll let you guess why. You're allowed to choose 5 different things to be your priorities. So I went with, PvP, Golden Saucer, which is the casino, crafting, mentoring. I don't even remember what that is. Oh, glamour and dungeons, randoms, or roulettes. Those are kind of what I do in the game. So I'm able to communicate who I am, what I do, who I belong to, and I'm able to personalize it a little bit. Now anybody can go and right-click show info, or not right-click show info, but right-click view adventure plate, and they can see not only information about me, but specifically the presentation of myself that I have chosen to put out there for them. That's the thing that I think is so important. You can write your bio in Eve, but come on. This is way more flashy. This is way more something to get behind. And more importantly, this represents things that can be goals, right? Different backgrounds for your portrait, different side flares, all that stuff. Fire Java, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole, Steve Online. All that shit could be things that are gotten by achievements or events. What if events... The final reward of an event isn't just a stupid booster crate, but is an achievement? What if you could collect all the achievements throughout the years? What if you could... Here's another one. Why can't I see... I really desperately want to see my stats from every previous event. I want to be able to have a record of how many points I made during the hunt. I want to know how many points I made last year during the hunt. I want to be able to pull that up and show it and look at it. I want to be able to track myself by looking at my own records of what I accomplished. This is the important thing that's about this, though. The theme here is the real theme. The reason why all of this exists, the word, is investment, right? This is why when CCP tried to do A/B tests and move the character creation process to the end of the tutorial instead of the beginning, it vastly damaged their retention. The reason why is because people want to invest in their thing. And the act of creating your character, the act of customizing your profile, the act of doing these things are what causes you to become invested, right? And it can give you goals to move on to. You've got emotional connections that you can get through Aura. But if you want people to invest in their gameplay, give them things like this. And then, wait, what? Why are you working for them already? I don't understand. Did I miss a piece? Oh, every single player game can share achievements. Yeah, even single player games can share achievements on socials. But again, so like this isn't CCP's fault, to be honest. Titan Dawn, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole of Steve Online. Oh, why aren't I? Well, to answer that question, I'm very, very open and upfront about this. I could very well try to get a job at CCP. But then I would just be another person behind the curtain. When my sob story or whatever, but like when my wife left, which freed up my time, I had to get a job. Not necessarily like a super well-paying job, but I should probably figure out something to do for myself. And so rather than like go and get a traditional job, I decided that I wanted to work for you guys. So explicitly, I think that I am most valuable on this side of the fence. That's why. Even if I got a community manager job, or like Setonian became a QA manager, the moment I do, my value as a person, as a part of your team, falls away. And I think that it is far better if my interests are not conflicted in that sense. So this is why I'm incredibly thankful of the support that I get from you guys, and why I don't necessarily push for too much monetization, because the idea is that like, if you guys want me, then I work for you, and that's it. Am I more invested in the game? My character has killed 5,000 NPCs instead of 4,000? No, because that doesn't actually mean anything to you. Mimosa, or sorry, Zippy Two Sauce. Thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole deep online. So yeah. Thank you guys. I love you guys. All right, well, I had another point. I was saying something else before that question. If anybody can remember what it was right now, then I'll get back to it. Otherwise, I think that we should probably be wrapping things up for the day. So yeah, oh, sorry. I never got into this during the other thing, I don't think. But what I'm going to do is I plan on being up for the keynote. So goddamn early. And probably a little bit after that in order to like give my reactions or whatever. But my plan is to then go to sleep and sleep through the rest of the day, or through the rest of the Fanfest, more or less, and then come back around the time that Fanfest is ending, and then replay the VOD on my stream, and so we can go through the entire experience of Fanfest in the US time zone. That's my plan. Okay? If I remember correctly, I saw it was 3:30. So the best way that you can find, yeah, I'm in Pacific. The best way that you can find the timing that I found, let me show you something. I always have these tips and tricks. I am also terrible at time conversion stuff. So I'm always very sketch about that. So here's my technique. Ready? I always like it when something else can do the work for me. Then I can rely that it did its job well. Or at least I can blame it when it's not right. So if you go to CCP's Twitch stream. What? Oh, nice. Hold on, let me link it. I don't know if I've ever been to that. Oh, the time converter website. Yeah. This is pretty useful. But what I actually was going to recommend is if you go to the CCP Twitch page, and go to schedule, here we go. So FanFest day 1 begins at 3:30 local time for me. And so if you go to this page, whatever your local time is, that is what time it'll be listed here. No conversion necessary. So yeah, I will see you either then or right afterwards, and we will replay through the big notes, the panels and all that stuff of the day. And so I hope to bring the FanFest stuff into the US time zone. And then, you know, of course, we're going to discuss anything that that dovetails out of that, be it lore, mechanics, implications, history lessons, whatever it takes. We're going to be doing this all weekend. We're going to be digging into this FanFest and trying to chew it apart as far as we possibly can right here on this stream. So I look forward to seeing you guys all there. Make sure you follow here and head on over to my YouTube and follow, subscribe to my YouTube if you can, because I put all my stuff over there. I try to make highlights and stuff to go over there. I put extra work into that, so it would be nice if you rewarded my effort by going over there and watching those videos and liking and commenting them, so that way, you know, Google also gives me money. I like it when everybody gives me money. So, but if you want to give me money, you can also join my Patreon supporters over at Patreon.